Hello, welcome back to the Heated Bench podcast. I'm your host, Devon Brocklehurst. Got Alex with me again this week. Hi, Alex. How are we doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Been a great weekend of sport again. Lot to cover.
Lots to discuss for sure. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think they might get a little bit heated this week. Some talking points. The cricket for a start. It's getting everyone a little bit riled up. Salah's spat his dummy out at Liverpool. The F1 went all the way to the finish. 2 points Lando Norris has won the championship by. And then at the end of this one, mate, we're going to do a bit of a preview for the World Championship of Darts that starts the day this is released, actually. We record on a Tuesday. This is going to be out on Thursday. So by the time we record this, the afternoon session's probably started. So yeah, looking forward to it. Right, let's get into it then. Let's start with the one that everyone's losing their head with. Let's start with the cricket. It's 2-0 Australia. Another dismal display by England. Where do we start? Realistically, this England team aren't good enough. I've tried to stick up for them as long as I can. Struggling to do that a little bit now. I made some predictions, obviously, last test that Crawley would be a standout, whilst he played a half-decent knock. 2 pretty dismal wickets he gave away. Duckett's nowhere to be seen. Pope at 3 is just a lost cause. I tried to say at the start of when we first started these podcasts that I thought Pope would be crucial for England. And it's proven pretty much right because he's been horrendous and it's putting pressure on everybody else. A shining light, obviously, Root finally got his 100, which there's been a lot of talk about. Couldn't do it in Australia, but he's managed to break that curse now and hopefully go on to score a few more runs. Brook, I said it again before, I'm getting a bit sick of Brook. He's supposedly got all the talent in the world, and I think he's the most brain-dead player in the team for someone with that much talent. Smith looked pretty awful on the pink ball, both with the gloves and the bat. Will Jacks came in with Stokes and put a pretty decent knock on. Looked probably one of the more assured batsmen. And then the tail did the tail things. But I think story of the tape, Alex, is first innings England get a pretty respectable score. I think everyone, looking at the way the ball moved, were quite excited by it. Again, a few bad displays in there, but with the points on the board, everyone's thinking, well, we're in with a chance here. Then we come out to bowl, and it looked like Farnsfield bowling. It was horrendous.
Yeah, a lot to digest there, but I think when we were 5 for 2, obviously in the first innings, you take the score we got. What did we get? About 330, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
which in hindsight probably still wasn't enough runs. You'd probably still maybe say they were maybe 50 runs short of par to be really competitive. Because we know the ability of the Australian top order. We've seen it now, so it's very and like if you actually look at the scorecard from their innings, nobody went big. There was a lot of starts and there was very much a lot of starts, but there weren't many big scores. I think Root top scored in the whole game of his 138, but there was a lot of 60s, 70s, even like 40s and 30s where Australia, everybody was playing the part, which you can never say that's the case in England's case, that not everybody does play their part, even if it's a 30 or a 40, do you know what I mean? If everybody contributed with that, would be a lot better in Test cricket, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in the first innings, to be fair, with Joff. Obviously, Joff played that innings at the end with Root, picked up a pretty decent score, and it pushed England from what looked like a pretty dismal 260, 270 up to like 330, and you thought, competitive here. But like you say, that's got to go through the whole team. There isn't enough of it now.
Which showed in the second innings. Root didn't get a score. And then it was only really Stokes and Jackson Crawley who were trying to who posted any respectable score. I mean, Duckett has really struggled this tour. Brooks got 50, but the mode of dismissals he's producing for, like you say, the level of ability he's got is quite frankly astounding. And I think that's shown with Stokes in his post match interview, didn't he? I think it has been the first time he's pretty much kind of lost his head a little bit with it. And I think it was aimed at your Crawleys and your Brooks, who obviously are very, very talented cricketers, but in certain games, in certain match situations, they just need to be that bit smarter. And I think that's what he was alluding to.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? And I mean, Stokes, I've questioned a few times recently. I think he's always led from the front with the ball, and he's clearly a very good people captain. He's obviously got a lot of respect in the dressing room, but he's always took the blame for everybody else's problem. Now,
Yeah, and that's what he did again.
yeah, and now he took those interviews after the game, after a defeat, didn't have to come out. He probably took that out on his own shoulders, saying, "I'm going to go and face up to the media here." Walks out, he does an interview with TNT. You've got Matt Pryor and Steve Finn on the panel asking him questions. You can tell, obviously, ex-England players, little bit disappointment. And he stood there and he spoke from the heart and he called players out. And honestly, I wanted to put my helmet on and run through a wall after listening to it. How can people not want to play for this guy and wear that badge with as much pride as he does? He bleeds England cricket. He's clearly hurting, and I don't think he's getting the support, not just from the players, but it seems to be from the management as well. I mean, Trescothick came out after the second or third day, I think it was, said, "Oh, it's not so much the batting that's the issue. It's the tempo in which we're doing it. We're probably not putting enough pressure on players now. We're going into our shell a bit." And I'm sat there thinking, you're watching a different game to what everybody else is watching. And then Baz came out after Bennett done his interview, did an interview with Seven Cricket in Australia, and says that they've over-prepared by having 5 hard training sessions. I think you're trying to take fans for a mug a little bit here. I think everybody's very, very much come to the conclusion that you are underprepared. These players have not had the big tour like teams of the past, which is a lot's been made of by ex-pros like Vaughan, people like that. But they just look cooked. There's nothing in it. That there have been 2 or 3 positive things combined in the first and second test. You've got Root and he's batting his 100. You've got Crawley shown a little bit of fight in this second test. You've got Stokes with the ball, and you've got that first bowling spell in the first test that looked good. After that, ridiculous. And then you've got people like Archer bowling 150 at Smith when they need 60 runs and chirping. Why didn't you do that for the first innings? Where were that 150 clicks when we were under pressure, rather than just ambling him? And I think that's what Stokes is getting a bit annoyed at.
Yeah, good. Just back to your first point with regards to Stokes' leadership. It's obviously everybody very respects him. Like you say, he leads from the front, and to go out and take the brunt of it all and take the pressure off everybody else, you can't not have much respect, a lot of respect for him. But then I heard a very good point from Alyssa Healy. I'm sure you've probably heard it all on Willow Talk today, and it was about Stokes obviously fronting it all up, and then she was saying, what's everybody else in the team doing? It's like, this is the first time now where he's calling out people to take accountability for. And she was saying, like, you've got to be looking at your senior players like your Brooks and your Crawleys and these kind of guys here, and thinking to myself, am I really doing everything I can for my captain? Because he's going out there and fronting it, and it seems I'm getting a free pass. And I completely agree with what she was saying. And like I say, I think it's the first time Stokes has really not lost his head. He's not lost his head, but he's telling people how it is now. And it needed to be like this probably really through the whole tour. I know we've spoken about the accountability with these England batsmen before, but problem is now we're 2-0 down, and it looks like the series is done and dusted already. So,
I mean, we were 2-0 down at home, remember, and we brought it back to 2-2 before rain effectively cost us the Ashes. But you just don't get that same level in Australia that you do over here. I mean, this next
No.
test is probably going to be favourable a little bit for England. I think there's less bounce at Adelaide. It plays a little bit more like home conditions. But how many more things do we have to look at for this England team? The first test, it was no Hazelwood, no Cummins. This is time to take advantage. Then it's like, okay, we still haven't got them. We didn't really play great the first day, but we've seen one or two things that we can lean on. If the bowlers bowl like that with a pink ball, we're going to be fine. Then the batsmen, yeah, okay, poor, but put a little bit of fight up in terms of putting a score on the board. And then the bowlers go the opposite way. It's like there's all this talk about England being this real tight-knit unit. And yet, like you say, it doesn't seem like anyone's playing for each other. It's like they know their position's safe, so it doesn't matter. And
Yeah, and
I
I think I was just going to say, and I think it looks like they're very much happy to hide behind Ben Stokes and McCullum and Root. Obviously hiding behind Stokes for his captaincy, Root, McCullum for the coach, and then hiding behind Root because he's the best player. And it's like, well, if he doesn't perform, then nobody else seems to really step up in these crucial moments. So I think at the end of both these test matches, we've always talked about moments in the test and just individual errors, and it's just a continuing theme. And I assume it'll be the same for the next test because Australia just look like they're dominating us at the minute, and we keep getting into positions in both test matches now where we've got on top, and we never seem to then get into the next gear to really take it away from them. We fall back.
well, that's what Stokes said, isn't it? He said in the interview, when we're ahead, we're pretty much unstoppable. And when we're behind, we look really good in a chase. However, those pivotal moments where the game's on a knife edge, we lose them, and then went on to sort of say, I don't want weak mentality in my dressing room. I don't want weak men in my changing room, which that is a message from the heart. That's in the heat of battle. He's lost. He's stepped up and he's thought, right, I've let people get away with enough now. I kind of have to say, like, Stokes has put himself in this position, and Baz, like you say, going back to your point that they've shouldered so much of the blame that nobody else takes accountability. But they sort of had to do that when they first took over because of the dire situation they was in. But there's no adaptation to it now, and it's getting boring. It's getting boring being predictable. It's getting boring waking up at 7 o'clock when my alarm goes off, looking at the score and thinking, I'm glad I didn't fucking get up because we're 5 down for 50. It's a fucking joke, and it's getting to a point now where there is no defending them. I think they have to make some big changes for this test. I think personally, Pope's probably got to go. I'd probably play Jacks at 3. I'd maybe look at bringing Bethel in to then sit in Jacks's position. I'd be probably dropping Corse and Atkinson as well. I'd probably bring in Bashir in because this is the sort of test that you need a spinner in at Adelaide. And I would probably be looking to bring probably Tong or Potts in as well. Something a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, there are spaces open for grabs. Duckett's probably got enough credit in the bank, to be fair, to warrant the 5 tests, and Crawley's probably bought himself the 5 tests as well. But like you say, number 3 spots up for grabs. You know, Smith's not done himself justice with the gloves. The bowling group haven't done themselves justice, and there are a couple of players who are waiting their turn. So
I was a little bit
we'll
worried
see.
about Duckett. I was a little bit worried about Duckett in the first 2 tests anyway. Likes that back cut shot way too much on bouncy pitches for my liking. There was a lot of talk of obviously that suiting him over here, but I had the opposite. I thought he would struggle with them. I think this is probably Duckett's test now to go out and make a point. I said it last one, I fancied Crawley in the pink ball just because of how soft it gets, and if he learnt his lesson, he could put a score on the board. But I think Australia, like, not taking away anything from them, like Mitch Stark has been phenomenal. but that batting group is very gettable. And obviously, Nisa put a pretty good stat up, like set of figures up in the second innings. But if you look at all those dismissals, again, 2 of them caught and bowled, just chipping it back. Just trust your technique. Like, Crawley looked $1 million this week leaving a ball.
Mm.
Like, I want to see players score runs, but there's a time and place for it. And what Australia did perfect was they got England to a position where that new ball came under lights, and England never got that because they're just not in long enough to get there. So
Yeah,
it's like,
that's why they didn't play Nathan Lyon, Australia, and they were very clear on that. Like there'd only be certain times in the Test match where he'd bowl, because after the first session, they were lining up with the seamers, and then unless Australia won the toss and batted, sorry, um, you'd have to bring him on within 20 overs, but because otherwise they're wasting the new ball. So, but a lot of talk as well was made about heavy pace, quick pace coming into Australia, and other than Stark, it's been a lot of, I would say, medium pace that's done some considerable damage as well. Like Boland's not quick, Nessa's not quick, Green's not quick, and they took a huge scalp into England's batting,
yeah,
which shows you don't have to be necessarily quick. Look, obviously, if you get them both like Stark, it can be very, very damaging. But so Nisa they were just bowling it full, bowling it outside off stump, waiting for England to make an error, and with how they're playing, they'll give you chances. And Australia, I mean, it's funny as well because everybody was going on about like Bazball and stuff, but if you actually look at Australia's run rate, they were scoring higher than England.
yeah.
Which
But,
what's that saying about our bowling?
yeah, exactly. And a lot of emphasis went into this building this perfect attack for Australia, which I will admit the pitches are a little bit different compared to how they have been in previous years. Like, this attack was built for a previous year pitch, and it's not really worked out like that. But one thing that Tuffer said on Stick to Cricket today, which was perfect, England don't have a leadership in that bowling team other than Stokes. And again, it's like he has to lead from the front. But you look at Atkinson, you look at Carse, and they're like, every time they're void of what they want to do, it's like they turn to Stokes and it's like, right, what can I do now, Stokes? What can I do now? Whereas at least when you had like Broad and Anderson, they were so seasoned and so knowledgeable that Broad could go over to Anderson and say, "Look, I think you're a little bit short there. You probably need to push it up a little bit, or like you need to. That plan's not working. Maybe change to this plan." And while one of us is bowling, the other one will go speak to the captain and just put into motion what we're thinking. There's none of
Yeah.
that now, and like you say, all accountability. It's not even just the batsman; it's the bowlers, it's the keeper. It's like Stokes and Root don't perform, you're not going to get a victory. It's fucking draining as an England fan. Um,
I think as well, you've obviously got the boundary sizes as well, which I hadn't really thought of this till pretty much just right now. But um, Stark's obviously been amazing, and they've not really been scoring off him. So you're looking to score off the other bowlers. And Boland and Nesta aren't bowling that quick. Well, they are bowling quick, but like it's not expressive. You Woods, your Archers, your Starks. So the ball's not flying off the bat. Now, if you looked at Archer in the second innings, what did he just? He was bowling quick, but what was he bowling?
was he bowling short, or
He
was
was
he
just
just
bowling short, and at that pace, Smith
all
was
it
just getting
takes is yeah,
any bat on it, and it was going for 4, and it's going for 6. So yes, they're bowling quick, but also when that ball's dead and it's not swinging, which it's only really been Stark who's been getting significant swing. It's with how we've been bowling, it's just been easy runs for Australia at that pace. We might be off better slowing it down a little bit.
no, I
As daft
agree.
as that sounds.
I agree. I'd definitely look at bringing a. I think Josh Tong would probably be the one that I brought in. I think he's looked good in pretty much every series he's played. He looks a little bit more skillful. He looks like he's got a little bit more control.
When we think of the great fast bowlers, and I'm thinking of McGraths and Broads and Andersons and Akrams, They weren't express, were they?
No. No, you only really got that West Indies team of the 80s that was classed as like an express bowling attack, weren't you? Other than that, like you say, your McGraths, put it on a 50 pence and it wouldn't move. Your Andersons, your Broads, they would think. But I think the thing that
Dale
makes them so
Steyn.
yeah, I think the thing that makes them so different though is they learn. If they get crunched for a 4, you know next ball's not going for 4. Whereas if in this England team, if one gets hit for a 4 or 6, you know the next ball, it's like it's going to be thrown down by me. It's just all over the place. It's like there's no, again, we keep going back to it, but it's no accountability, no
Yeah.
fronting up and thinking, right, I've made that mistake now, I'm going to fix it. It's like they're waiting for someone to change the plan. And like you
At
say with the
toughness test
shoe,
as well. There's really been, other than Stokes, there's been no bowler who's kind of, just got the scuff of it and just thought, I'm having this today. Do you know what I mean? Just bowling a spell and just looking threatening.
and do you
Never
know
really.
what's worrying going forward?
It's only been that first innings where we've been looking like taking good wickets. But yeah, go on. What are you going to say?
Yeah, the thing that was worrying going forward, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, that England have struggled for a spinner for a long, long time. Bashir's probably going to come in this next test under the pump. Like, the guy looks like he's a bit like lacking in confidence anyway at the best of times, and he's going to come in a game that's 2-0 down, where these Aussie players, especially if someone like Head's still in or an Inglis that's going to take the attack to you, they're going to come in and look at him and think, "Fucking hell, like
Yeah.
tuck in here, boys." Um,
I think I said
and
it on the
especially
last podcast. Whoever England are looking to bring in for Wood, and now Wood's out for the whole series, it will be who Australia target. And if
yeah,
Bashir plays, they will look to get after Bashir. Because, like you say, I don't think he's. I've personally have never been too impressed with him. I think he's steady, but I wouldn't really go any further than that. I don't see him ever being world class. I don't ever see him being like a Nathan Lyon. And I
no, but
think the Aussies will put.
the one thing
That's-
that he does get like Lion is he gets that like overspin where it bounces a little bit.
Yeah,
So
he's tall, isn't he? So he can get
yeah,
that bounce.
so
But
and I think in Australia I think that's probably why England are looked to him so much in Australia, because they're the sort of pitchers that are going to do that.
we'll see. It's not an ideal time to come in for Bashir. You think, obviously, we're 2-0 down, we're under pressure. Like we've spoke a lot about the bowling group there. There's no one really taking real leadership of it. And then you're coming into Adelaide. Is it Adelaide?
Yeah.
I mean, Travis Head's home ground. I think Australia have a pretty good record there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Doesn't fill you with much confidence, does it, as an English fan?
No, I genuinely think that if this one's a loss, it's 5-0 and it's just done. I can't even see where England pick one up if it's not this one.
We might get a draw at Sydney.
That might be, yeah, but
Got a
it's
draw at Sydney last time.
a 4-0 and a draw is as bad as a fucking 5-0, innit?
We haven't won a test. We haven't won a test match there since 2011. Think about that for a minute. 2011, we haven't won it. Just a test match.
It's fucking impossible, and it's impossible to support them. Like, as an Englishman, you'll always follow them, you'll always dive into it, but I don't know, it's hard, man. Right, talking of people spitting the dummies out like us, football, let's move on to that. Mo Salah has well and truly thrown Slot and the Liverpool team under the bus. I'm going to read a few quotes out for you now. But after being benched for the last 3 weeks and not even brought on the pitch, Salah stopped to speak to the media after the game. I think it was at the Sunderland game, where he didn't make it to the pitch. And these were some of his statements. So the Liverpool star claimed the club has thrown me under the bus, adding that his relationship to Slot has broken down and sees him as someone that doesn't want him at the club. I'm fighting for my position every day because I've earned it. I'm not bigger than the club, I'm not bigger than anything, but I've earned it. It is what it is. In football, you never know, but I don't accept this situation. I've done so much for this club. I'm sorry, I love players like Haaland, I love him, but I'm the current top scorer in the Premier League, most recent Golden Boot winner, and I won the league in style. It hurts. It absolutely hurts me what I have done. It hurts. I know the club well. I've been here for many years. Tomorrow, Jamie Carragher is going to criticise me, but that's fine. It seems to me someone doesn't want me at the club. Wow. Talk about throwing your manager under the bus in a tough time. I'll quickly give you my thoughts on it, and I'll let you have a big say in this. He was dropped because he wasn't good enough. Now, we've just spoke about it in the cricket, about certain players having a little bit in the bank. Salah for Liverpool is probably one of those players that has a little bit of time over poor performances in the bank. The difference is, with how dire Liverpool's situation has been in the most recent weeks, I think probably 2 or 3 wins in the last 14, 15, is it? That has put a lot of pressure on Slot, and Slot has had to make some pretty big changes, which not a lot of managers would have done in terms of dropping players like Salah, moving the back four around a little bit, bringing players in. Liverpool this season looked lost, and Salah's a big part of that. A lot of what Liverpool have done in previous years has gone through Salah, but this isn't the first time Salah's come and called the club out over a situation. Last year he did it about his contract renewal. This year he's done it about not being played. It's almost like him and his agent sit down and think, right, if something doesn't happen here, we're going to make a point because I think the Liverpool fans are going to be on my side.
That's exactly what he's done.
In previous years, I think that's correct. But with how dismal he's been this year, I don't think he's got a leg to stand on. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, he's called out at the club a couple of times, and he's calculated when he does it. Like you say, him and his agent will be discussing it. It's no coincidence. He's done it around his contracts. He's done it when he's been dropped. And look, it's not just been this year. It's been since March. He's been poor. Like, that is like a lengthy time in football to be poor. And like you say, Slot's made some brave decisions. He's changed it up a bit. But to be fair, he's changed it up where he can. He can't drop the centre halves. He's got no other centre halves. He's brought Robertson back in. He dropped Kirkez. He's brought Gomez back in. He had Szoboszlai at right back. He's had Frimpong at right back. I know he's had injuries. He's changed midfield. McAllister's been dropped. He brought Isak back in, then he got dropped. So he's chopping and changing. So he is trying. And Salah has been underperforming, like I say, since March now. So he was well in his right to be dropped. And Carragher made a good point as well. Like, in the games he's been dropped, Liverpool weren't needing a goal. They were trying to see out a game. Now, you're not going to bring Mohamed Salah on to see a game out, are you? So, look, to call out the management and the situation, especially before a game they're playing Inter Milan tonight in the Champions League, and all the
He's
talks
not even
about Salah.
travelled, has he?
No. And then he's put that Instagram story on today. So he's adding fuel to the fire. He knows what he's doing. I think he's just being very, very selfish.
I think there was a lot of talk last season of would he stay, would he go? Liverpool were in such a great position with the league that it ended up that he stayed. He got the contract. Him and Van Dijk got the contracts that they sort of wanted. There was a lot of talk last year, obviously Trent kicking off, not kicking off, but not coming out and saying anything. Whereas Salah did the other, and then obviously we lost Trent, so a lot of people turned their back on Trent. But it's like he's got that contract, and that's it. He's got what he's worth, and I think probably secretly he wants out. I think there's pretty lucrative deals being spoke about with Saudi. With him being obviously from that sort of background, he's going to go out there and probably become some sort of big icon. But if this is the way that Salah leaves Liverpool, I think it's going to hurt him. I think it's going to hurt the fans, and I think it's going to hurt the club, because players like this that have have contributed so much to Liverpool finally winning the Premier League, ending all those years of hurt, winning some Champions Leagues, etc. You want to see those players celebrated, and this is this. If he leaves, if he goes to AFCON after this weekend, and then signs for one of these Saudi clubs or somebody else in January, I think he's just ruined his career. Not ruined his career, but he's ruined his Liverpool legacy. I think he could have gone down as probably the second best player to ever play for Liverpool.
I don't think he will leave. I think he'll stay. I still think he's very much motivated to play at the top level. Look, Saudi is going to be on the cards, but for me, I personally don't see it just yet. I think he'll definitely want to see out the season with Liverpool first. Has he ruined his legacy? I don't think he has. Look, Ronaldo,
Yeah.
like, Arnie Slot's within his right to not play him because of his bad form for the past 8 months.
And especially under the pressure that Slot's under. Like, Slot, again, probably has a little bit in the bank because he won the Premier League with a team that wasn't his. But he started this season really poor. Like, even the games we won at the start of the year, we were poor in. We probably didn't deserve to win them. We don't look like winning games. I mean, we went 2-3-0 up at Leeds and
Well,
never looked like
also
holding out.
Liverpool's problem at the minute, irrespective of Salah's form, isn't scoring. They score goals. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
keeping
was
them out.
saying, to beat Liverpool, you need to score 2 goals because Liverpool are good for a goal. They will score. Regardless of Salah's bad form, like Ekitike's still been scored, Gakpo's chipped in, Szoboszlai scored that worldie free kick. Liverpool will score goals. The problem is it's to the other end, and playing Salah is effectively defending with 10. So if
Yeah,
he's not scoring your goals and he's a liability in terms of he's not going to defend, he's not going to press, he's not going to work back, he's got every right to drop him. And it's only 3 games. It's only 3 games he's not played him for. Like, there's the whole
I think
season left.
I don't think it's a case of just being dropped, is it? I think it's not being brought off the bench when they're in the positions they're in. But like you say, if you're trying to see a game, you ain't bringing Salah on, are you?
No, and it's not like, and it's like, let's say if you were bringing on, trying to think of a good example, let's say like a Rooney or a Harry Kane or something, they can hold the ball up well. Salah is good for running in behind and being a threat on the counter attack, which, like I say, is fine when you're chasing a game, but he's not really going to get the ball up and slow the game down like a Grealish, is he?
No, exactly.
He's going to get the ball and he's going to want to turn and create attacks, which, like you say, in those scenarios that Liverpool were in, you don't want to bring that. You don't want to bring that on yourself.
No, I agree. So the question remains then: if Salah goes away, Liverpool don't pick up a couple of wins over this festive period, we get to probably the start of January, transfer window opens. Is Slot going to be there to make some signings?
Yeah, I think so. I think the club will look at that, the fact they've not signed a centre half, and they've really struggled defensive. I'm sure Slot would love to take Konate out the firing line for a few games, but he
Yeah.
can't. He's got nobody. I think they'll stick with him and they'll sign a centre half in January and just see where they go from there, really. But they do need to sharpen up in defence, and he needs to be quick.
It's the midfield as well. The midfield looks miles off it.
Yeah, they've all dropped a level this year, haven't they? Which can happen. You put everything into a Premier League season, physically and emotionally. You get over the line, and there's naturally a bit of a come down from it. So, and like you say, Salah's not been performing, Van Dijk's not been performing. So look, there are several factors going into why they're not performing, and it is the manager's job to get them going again. But they'll sign a centre half. They might bring a couple of fresh faces in, and we'll see where Liverpool go there, really. But it's definitely not all on the manager. He's got things to blame. I know Liverpool fans don't like the fact that Gakpo is constantly in the team. They'd probably like to see, like, maybe Isak to the left or Ekitike to the left or Verts to the left or whoever.
Well, that's what he's done tonight, innit? He's dropped Gakpo and he's put Ekitike on the left, Isaac through the middle, and I think he's played Curtis Jones on the right.
Yeah. So he's changing things about. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I think this next few weeks something to look at. Be interesting to see which way the fans go on it because, like I say, I think the fans have got a lot of respect for Salah, but at the same time, they're not going to let anyone throw this club under the bus. If it was the first time he'd done it, I think they'd be pretty respectable of it, but it's not. So I think Salah might be on eggshells personally.
yeah, and as well, it's like he'll go to AFCON, and all the noise around Salah will still be there.
Yeah,
There'll be a big talk around Liverpool, and he won't even be there. Yeah,
yeah,
it weren't a good move in my opinion. Look, we know why he's done it. He's trying to put pressure back onto the management to get playing again. He's like you say, he's got a lot of credit built with the Liverpool fans, and a lot of Liverpool fans and his fans will side with him because of the results Liverpool have had.
yeah, yeah. Right, let's move sport again. Let's talk something a bit more happy. Lando Norris, F1 world champion.
Oh, I loved it. It was so good.
It was great, wasn't it? Another English driver back on top.
Yeah,
Lots
no,
of drama leading into the race. If Max won the race, I think he needed to finish third to guarantee the title. And wow, after that first corner, first couple of corners where he qualified second, took off the lights, ended up dropping third behind Piastri and Max, and pretty much under pressure from Charles, who looked pretty quick to start this weekend, you thought, oh my gosh, here goes.
yeah, I think probably around laps 30, it did really look like Leclerc was gaining on him. But to be fair to Lando, saying he just did what he had to do. He literally just did what he had to do. Cruised around, just kept at third. It wasn't doing anything risky. Kept his distance between the other drivers. I mean, I'll ask you because you've got a bit more knowledge of F1 than me did. There was a point in the race where Piastri and Verstappen was so far ahead, and Verstappen had still yet to pit. There was talk of whether he'd pit or whether he wouldn't. Now, would it have been more beneficial for Verstappen to have pitted and allowed the drivers to get closer together, if that makes sense? Would that have given then Leclerc or one of the other drivers a better chance to overtake Lando, or more of a chance of maybe Lando to fuck a corner up or something like that by bringing all them drivers closer together? In the end, he didn't pit, won the race outright as he would, but then it never really gave anybody a chance to overtake Lando, or do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think Max's worry in that was sort of the distance between Piastri. I think they tried to go a little bit longer. McLaren went for the undercut with Piastri, which meant that Max would have been fighting for position again. I think Piastri said in the room after the event, he basically said to Max, "Did you not fancy letting off and trying to back us all up?" I think the problem with that is when you're 30 laps deep on tyres, you don't know how quick it's going to be till those tyres drop off a cliff. And if Max backs the pack up, drops to second, and
Yeah,
then
that's it.
Lando finishes fourth, Lando still wins the title, Max is going to be killing himself. So
Suppose, yeah,
you've got to
from a,
drive your own race and hope
yeah,
that the miracle happens. Like you say, Charles for a period looked rapid, and it was like, oh my god, he's going to be on his tail. Lando's going to have to do some serious fighting to keep him behind. And then all of a sudden, it got to about 7 seconds down from about 14, and he must have been pushing that hard that his tyres dropped off.
yeah,
But there was a few hairy moments. There was the what I spoke about on the podcast last week, where Tsunoda nearly took him off the track and ended up with a 10-second time penalty, which
yeah. Oh, on that corner.
wow,
Oh,
heart in
yeah.
mouth moment. I was like, oh my god, that's it, championship gone. I was like, that's the last place you want to be. And
Yeah.
then once he pitted, he came out in the traffic as well, and that was where Lando showed championship grit. There's been a lot of times this season I've knocked Lando a little bit and sort of said, think he's too nice. He hasn't got that little bit of grit that you need, that the likes of Verstappen, that the likes of Lewis, that the likes of like Alonso, Vettel had, where when it's not going right, they bite down and they double down, and they'll get a little bit wild and a little bit aggressive and a little bit of, I'm not letting anyone push me around here. Lando doesn't really have that. But when he came out of the pits in that DRS train, I think he came out fifth of 6 cars, and I think he had Charles behind him. Cleared the first one within the first lap of coming out the pits. He then cleared the second one coming out the second lap, and then the third lap he did a double overtake, and that is what won him the championship, because from there, Charles was stuck behind that train, didn't quite have the car to get past 2 at once, and that was where Lando sealed that third place, and he looked $1 million, and that's where I think if that happens halfway in the season, Lando probably gets stuck behind that, and it costs him.
Yeah.
So
I think,
that was the first time for me he showed that grit.
I think maybe if you're talking a few races into the series, maybe something like that doesn't happen. But when you know what you've got to do, where you know where you've got to finish, it just pretty much put the emphasis on obviously what he's had to do. But to your point around Verstappen as well, like you say, you don't want to compromise potentially not winning the race. Your focus is on winning the race. But then there's so many different things that could have gone on in this race. But if anything, it just went routine, didn't it? Everything just went as planned for McLaren.
Yeah.
But I was asking with a couple of people at the time while I was watching it. Do you think there was ever a scenario where McLaren are speaking to Piastri and Norris? Do you think there was ever a scenario where they tell Piastri to let Lando through? Because they've not really been a 1 and a 2, have they? And they had both chances to win it. But I don't know. Do you think through that race
I
if there was a scenario?
maybe not through the race, but they'd have gone through over every situation before the race, and they'd have sort of said like, look, we think it's best that if you're not in a clear position where you're going to win this title championship, Oscar with 5 laps to go and Lando is within a car or 2, then you're going to have to play the team game. I think that's just a given. Obviously, Oscar's going to be bitterly disappointed he
Could
let a
could
34-point lead go.
was there not a chance through the race they could have done that when Charles was really getting up behind Lando, and then Lando was in third, Oscar was in second? Could McLaren have just said, we'll let Lando pass and just give him that buffer?
Well, no. I think the only chance that would have happened is if Charles overtook Lando, then Oscar would have let off the gas, given second to Charles, and then
Right.
let
Lando
Thingy
third.
overtake him. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would have been the only scenario that would have happened. It's kind of hard to predict because you never know how a race is going to play out, but I think Oscar would have been under the assumption that regardless of
Well,
what happens in this,
what would have had to have happened for Oscar to have won the title?
I think Oscar had to win, hope that Max finished second, and I think Oscar would have to win, Max would have had to finish third, and I think Oscar would have had to finish fifth.
Lando, you mean?
Lando would have had to have finished fifth. So
Okay.
it was a very, very rare chance that Oscar was going to win it, to be fair. But yeah, I fucking love having an English driver back on top. And the scenes after the race with his family and the tears, and it shows how much these guys put into this sport. There's a lot said about F1 with obviously cars making the difference. There's a lot of sponsorship money. You don't really get a seat unless you've got the sponsorship and have a way into the sport. But that's another story. But it clearly builds a lot of pressure up. I think they were saying there's been 34 world champions since F1's been around. Shows you just how hard it is to win.
look, I said in our group chat, that is probably one of the best F1 wins ever. You're talking a guy who's not really racing as a one or two, like what Verstappen has all year. You're competing against a bloke and a team who have won four world championships in a row. Max is clearly has been the best driver with the best car, and Lando has come and won the championship. I mean, is what other titles can you think of that have been better?
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think other than maybe one or two of Schumacher's and maybe one or two of Lewis's early ones, I think the Max versus Lewis, I think Max's first one, if the Abu Dhabi thing wouldn't have happened, would probably have been up there. There's probably one of Seb's where I think Red Bull and Mercedes were quite tight at that stage. But yeah, in terms of what Oscar's done, you've got to remember he was 34 points behind as well.
Yeah.
It, it he wasn't having a great time. He was being beat pretty comprehensively by Oscar. Max, to be fair, must be pretty good that that car had a bit of a drop in the middle of the season when everyone else brought upgrades and they didn't, because for a 3-race period, it's effectively cost him the title. But yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see a different face. It's great to see one of the good guys on top. And I'm actually really excited for what the cars bring next year. Obviously, a lot of rule changes in. Red Bull have already said their driver lineup's going to change. I think they're bringing Hadjar in for Sonoda.
It's good
There's
for
going
the
to be,
competitiveness of the F1, like you say. With the greatest respect to Verstappen, who's amazing, winning it 5 times in a row gets a bit boring. So it's good
yeah,
to
it
freshen it
does.
up and
Yeah.
have a new driver. And I really, really hope Leclerc can find some form like he did a couple of years ago. Because I would love Ferrari and McLaren and Red Bull to really go at it next year.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting one with Ferrari because from what I can gather and what I'm reading online, it's not guaranteed that Lewis is going to be there next season. I think Lewis has had a pretty rough time of it. I don't think he gets on with his race engineer. I think there's been a lot of back and forwards with some of the ownership at Ferrari saying he needs to keep his mouth shut rather than criticising. So I don't think it's a given that he's going to be at Ferrari next season. I think the changes in rules obviously are there to make sure that it's more competitive racing. So hopefully there are a few more teams. There's obviously going to be a few new teams on track. I think Sauber are becoming Audi. I think Chevrolet might be coming in not Chevrolet. Is it Chevrolet? Might be Chevrolet coming in this year or next year. But yeah, next season could be one of the best seasons ever because nobody the changes are so drastic. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
I think Oscar and Max said that in the post match breakdown as well. They both said, "Thank God we ain't got to drive that car." And I think Max's reply was, "Let's see what next season's brings." So it's going to be interesting. I think the drivers will be very up for it. I think there's a little bit of testing today. I think it might be or tomorrow. End of season testing, and then where they do some changes on tyres and things, and then obviously we've got a bit of a break now, and then come back around March time.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. The F1 should be good next year. Not like it's not good, but yeah, like you say, if we can add a bit more competition, have a bit more variability with the rules, where it probably evens the playing field about.
Right, Alex, the big one. It starts this week. The Darts is back. The World Dart Championship, Paddy Power, sponsored. I've put together a little bit of a preview, so I think we should have a look through this, break down some of the games, some of the groups. Well, not the groups, but the way the draws fell. So I'm going to pop it up on screen now so you can have a look. But as you know, we're massive dart fans in our friendship group, and wow, this time of year it goes ballistic. Luke Littler has put darts into another stratosphere. There's going to be a lot of eyes on it this year. A lot of the shops are going to be beer by Christmas.
Yep.
And it throws up drama every year, and I am buzzing for it.
But it's not just the World Championships, is it? It's players as well competing for a spot in the Premier League as well, which is straight after. So the
Yeah.
darts for the next couple of months is just brilliant.
Yeah, I think this time of year it starts now and it blows up, doesn't it? And you've got till probably April time, the next couple of months, like you say, with the Prem and everything else that follows on from it, where all eyes are on it. All the rowdy groups come out and it takes off. And like I say, it's been excelled in recent years by the likes of Luke Littler. But wow, I get as excited for this as I do for anything else now. This is the calendar that I look for every year. When these groups are announced, it just gets me giddy. There have been some rule changes this year. We mentioned it a few weeks ago, but all the seeded players used to start in the second round before. The tournament format has changed. It's now expanded to 128 players, meaning everybody starts from round one. The seeding structure is split, so the draw is split into 4 quarters. The top 4 seeds will drop into each quarter. And because of the extra people, the prize money has also gone up now. So it used to be 500 grand for the winner. It's now £1 million, which darts is finally getting those prize pools that other sports have had for years. So every player is going to be a little bit more on it, I think.
Yep, only drives the competition up when there's more money involved.
Yep, it sure does. So for anyone that's not watched it before, it's games of 501, straight in, double out. First to 3 legs wins a set. If you win as so many sets, you obviously advance to the next game. If at any point the game becomes tied in sets, you must win by 2 clear legs. And if you're at 5-5 after those playoff legs, then it'll be a sudden death leg to decide it. For the first and second rounds, you've obviously got best of 5 sets, third and fourth 7, quarters 9, semis 11, and best of 13 in the final. So more of the upsets happen obviously in the earlier rounds where players can nick a leg or two. But yeah, it's just a standard format. It's the same pretty much every year, apart from, like you say, everyone's in at round 1 this year. So we'll start with the first quarter of the group, mate. And as you can see, it's topped by world number 1, Luke Littler. Everybody's favourite, talking like he can't lose. And the betting odds suggest that, I mean, he's coming in as a 10 to 11 favourite, which is unheard of in darts. Going odds on in a 128-man tournament is utterly outrageous, but the bookies aren't giving anything away there. But I've got a few questions for you, mate. So looking at this, I've put what I think will be a marquee matchup from each group. So I reckon, obviously, in the first quarter, the marquee matchup is obviously going to be the Littler game. It's the one everyone's going to tune in for. But there are a few decent seeds, and I think this is a pretty tough side of the group. You've obviously got Go and Price down there coming in as world number 9, but everyone knows that if Gezzy's playing on top of his game, he's probably one of the best in the world, probably one of the only ones that is a real challenge to Luke. You got last year's Premier League player Chris Dobie, who can take a game off anybody on his day. And then you've got a couple of the outside guys coming in. So Luke Woodhouse has been playing pretty decent recently, and obviously Damon Hector can put a few games up there. But yeah, what stands out to you in this side? Is there anything that you see? Anything that you're excited
do you know what?
for?
I was looking at Rob Cross's ranking there. 17, he must have had a pretty poor year because he was in the Premier League last year, so he must have been
Yeah, well,
top 7, top 8. And then
I think he's
Cullen's
missed a
ranking,
few
he's dropped as
events.
well, hasn't he?
Well, Cullen's been horrendous for a long time. Cullen is very lucky to even have a seed, in my opinion. In fact, I think he might be the last of the
He
seeds. I
is,
think he
he
might
is,
have just snuck
he is the
in.
last seed, yeah.
Um,
So last year he'd have started at round 2, wouldn't he?
yeah. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I looked at that. Joe Cullen's got a pretty tough game. Bradley Brooks is a good young player. He's had a couple of goes on the world stage now, so he's not really going to have that nervousness. Lucas Venig has had a couple of decent results in recent tournaments. And Wesley, again, he plays, obviously Wesley plays here, who won a couple of the on the floor events, the Players Championship events during the season. So he's going to be another one. And you've obviously got the clash of the old boys, the Ian White and the Mervyn King, which I'm pretty sure a few of the older boys will like tucking into. But realistically, if I look at that, Alex, I see probably 4 players that I could see really making a damage to anyone there. Realistically, I think you've got Littler, Heta, Doby and Woodhouse. Oh, and Gezi, sorry. So 5.
Yeah.
Realistically, they're going to push. I mean, Rob Cross is Rob Cross, but he's, like we've just said, he's been pretty poor. I don't really see any of the unranked players going too deep in the tournament from this side of the group. Is there anyone that shines out for you on that?
No, not really. I can only see Littler or Price getting through this quarter of the draw. Really. I mean, I didn't see Barnevel's name there as well. He's playing in this side as well, but yeah, he's obviously been miles off it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see someone like Barney go for a deep run, but I just can't see it. So we'll move to the second quarter, and the fan favourite, the real fan favourite. A lot of talk about Littler, but everybody knows this guy, Stephen Bunting, the one everybody's there to see, lights the room up, and he probably causes himself a little bit of trouble by lighting the room up. But yeah, I think personally, Alex, that this part of the group is the easiest. This is the easiest quarter for me. I think looking at the names that are on there, I don't really see anyone challenging maybe than Bunting or Clayton if he's on form.
Yeah, I mean, when you asked me for my wild picks and surprise picks, I think they were purely based on what quarter they were in, and I think one of them is in this quarter, but I'll have to check that when we go on to the picks.
Yeah, look, there's a few players in this side of the draw that I like watching and I'm excited to see. Bunting is obviously the show, but Dirk on his day, bit of a 180 machine, but you never know what he's going to be like on his doubles. Martin Schindler, I think, is German number 1 now. He's been pretty effective in these tournaments recently, but has he got the bottle to go all the way? Probably not. And Searle plays some pretty decent darts at times, but again, longevity, is he going to go deep in the tournament? No. Ethan knows his way around a dartboard. You'd expect to see him in the latter stages of this quarter, but again, he can throw a stinker in, and Adam Lipscomb is not an easy game first up. There'd have been many more people who'd rather have played in that side of the group.
Well, I was just looking, Petreko and D'Souza are quite unlucky to draw one another, aren't they? You'd probably like to think one of them would maybe fancy you wouldn't be surprised if one of them had a run at it, would you? Maybe get to the quarters or something. So for them to draw each other,
I mean, D'Souza's been off it for a little bit now, but Ricardo's always there or thereabouts. Plays some decent stuff. Problem with him is I always think he's just there to participate rather than to win. The two, both of them, that I'd really love to do something from this side of the group are both Smiths, Michael and Ross. Ross Smith is a 180 hitting machine. He looks $1 million and then throws in a stinker, and I'd love to see Ross Smith go on and win a big tournament. I just love it. He's a fantastic player. He comes across as a great bloke. He's got the best walkout song of the lot. And he's just someone I want to see do well. And then Michael Smith, obviously, probably the biggest drop off in sporting history in terms of being absolutely unbeatable, absolute showstopper.
Yeah,
To
did I put Michael Smith as my one to watch?
you did, yeah,
I think
I think
Yeah, I
you
think
might
that's
have.
why I put it down. I looked at this side of the draw, and look, you fancy both Lukes and Lukes to get through theirs quite comfortably. But like, I don't think people fear Bunting as they do the others. And I think Michael Smith, he's had a couple of good runs at the Worlds. Obviously, he's won it once and got to two finals. So he does like the World Championship.
Well,
So
he had a decent run at the last major as well. He looked pretty good. He found a little bit of form which hasn't been there. So you never know if he's built on that. This side of the draw probably gives him a half decent run.
yeah, I think he'd fancy himself against anybody on this side of the draw. But I think if he was playing Luke or maybe even MVG, I think you wouldn't really fancy him at all, would you? But you wouldn't be surprised if Smith turned up on his day and beat Bunting, for example, would you? Because Bunting's
No,
not
yeah,
really. Last year he got to the semi-final and then got whitewashed by Littler. So
yeah. Again, Bunting's one of those, isn't he? That it's almost like the occasion gets to him sometimes. I think,
yeah, a bit Wayne Mardley, isn't it?
yeah, he's a bit of a showman, isn't he? And that's also his downfall. Um, Moving on, so we'll go to the other half of the draw now. So everybody that we've seen in the first two quarters will obviously visit each other at some stage if they go deep into the tournament. So we jump to the other side. So everyone in the next two quarters won't be able to play anyone from the last two until they get towards the final. But yeah, this one's topped by the other Luke, the other favourite for the tournament. Obviously, we know how good Luke Humphries is. He's probably the only one realistically that will go toe to toe with Littler, depending on how he's come out of the last tournament with his back injury. But for me, this one, Alex, is the tough side of the group. This quarter here is going to be. I think the finalist from this side of the group comes from this quarter. Luke Humphries, again, fantastic. Wessel Nyman is a player that people need to watch out for. Once this kid gets confident and gets to a deep run of a tournament, he's going to be a serious player. He's a big scorer and his doubling lets him down in pressure moments at the minute, but he's a young kid and he's on the up. Aspinall plays some brilliant darts.
Yeah, there's a
Gone.
lot of players here who can really cause an upset, like you say, Aspinall, De Decker, Wade, Van Veen. These have won big tournaments already. I'm even looking at Ricky Evans. He can string
Yeah,
a couple of
Ricky Evans.
string of good results and challenge anybody on his day.
If Cam
So
Menzies
can,
isn't too pissed, he can have a decent run at it.
yeah. Has
Uh,
Alan Sutar, has he had any like runs?
no, he's been a bit poor since he had his run a few years ago,
Yeah.
but he, but again, he's one of those players that seems to turn up at the Worlds. I tell you the name that I do love to see on there. Obviously, Paul Lim's back for
Yeah.
another get crack at it. What a legend Paul Lim is. But no, I genuinely think this is the toughest side. I think this is the one where anything can happen. I mean, in the unseeded, you've got Clemens, you've got Ricky Evans, you've got Dowitts, you've got Mansell that has won tournaments recently, Suter, Rasma can win on any given day. So, and I don't think, to be fair, I don't think Luke Evans would have liked seeing Ted Everts come out. I mean, Ted's been off it for a while, but he can put some numbers up. I don't think he'd have been an easy person to get first game up.
Yeah, he's had some bad history at the Wolves, though, hasn't he, when he lost to Fallon Sherrock. So
Yeah.
um, I think Humphries won't be too worried about that. I think maybe if he gets starts getting the Aspinalls, the Deckers and Wades and he's still in this side, it'll be a tough Worlds. But, yeah, Humphries can beat anybody on his day. I don't really see anybody making too much of a run from this side other than Humphries, but like you say, one of them can cause an upset maybe down the line, but I don't see them getting into semis or final for me.
Yeah. And then we'll go to quarter four. Obviously topped by MVG. Seems to have found a little bit of form towards the back end of the year. There's been a lot made about the personal issues that he's had. But he is one of the players that you want to see at top level. Absolute box office, great personality, great fight, great grit, great determination, and he's everything you want to see from a pro. This is a pretty strong group as well. I think there's a few in here that could cause a few upsets. You've obviously got Willie O'Connor in the unseeds. Peter Wright, you don't know who's ever going to turn up.
Scott Williams is on seed. Didn't he get to the semi-final last year?
Yeah. Danny Noppert's been playing some seriously good darts. I've said this for a while now, but Danny Noppert is one big win away from being one of the top three guys. He is phenomenal, in my opinion. And I said it a few years ago, and he sort of fell off. But this year, he has looked pretty unstoppable. But Gary Anderson is another one. It turns up at the Worlds, doesn't take darts too seriously anymore, so it makes him, in my opinion, even more of a threat. Josh Rocks won some pretty big events this year. And then, like you say, you've got the likes of Connor Scott, Kim Hybricks, Scott Williams, Nico Springer's been about. And then if you look towards the bottom, the big one and the marquee matchup in this group for me, Daryl Gurney versus Beau Greaves. That is a 50-50 toss-up game for me.
That will be a good game.
You're going to have Daryl Gurney with his little bit of grit and the crowd against him. And then you're going to have Beau Greaves, who she deserves to be playing with these guys. She's not just a female anymore. She's a darts player. She is phenomenal.
Well, Gurney can get on the wrong side of the crowd anyway, so never mind when he's going to be playing against Beau Greaves. So it'll be interesting to see where his headspace with that is more than anything.
I think a lot of people would have wanted to dodge her.
For sure, it was like Fallon the other year.
Yeah,
you're playing against the whole crowd. They actually don't want you to win, and like the crowd at the darts, although they have a bit of the critics, they are there for a good time and to cheer good darts on and to cheer both players. When they're up against like a Fallon or a Beau Greaves, they're not. They're there again. They'll be against you, and
yeah, for sure.
See how they deal with that.
For sure. And then, Alex, we made some predictions. So,
then let's see yours.
This is where we're at. So, I think the winner comes from the first quarter. You have gone Luke Littler from the first quarter. I've gone for Gerwyn Price. I think he's played, in my opinion, I think Gezzy's played some ridiculously good darts this year and has just had a few little moments in games against Littler where he's missed out, where it could have easily gone quite the other way. I think there's a lot of pressure on Littler going in at this stage, and I know that's when he thrives, but it's almost as if everybody's given him the tournament now.
Yeah, he's coming in with a bit of added pressure with that respect, but it feels like the kind of character won't really faze him too much.
Well, you say that, but he's had a few bites back at the crowds in recent events, and the crowds are starting to get on him a little bit. It's a different ball game when you're under the pressure of the World Championships.
And he's now what was when he came onto the scene originally was a breath of fresh air and this exciting player who would go for the most outrageous checkouts like 120 and going 3 tops. He's now the one people are chasing, so it is different. So yeah, like you say, we'll see how he handles that. But seems like the kind of guy who doesn't really think too much of it, I would say, in my opinion.
No,
Seems quite
I
laid back, doesn't he? He
yeah, he
always
does.
he likes to like brag about how he only practices for like an hour a day.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy is a generational talent, and he is a rightly favourite. I mean, I am a gambling man, but I wouldn't be taking those odds. Not in the how strong the tournament is. There are a lot of good players in this tournament, and it only takes one game to knock you out. You don't get a second chance. So to go odds on, I think the bookies aren't taking any chances with that one. They want to keep their money in their pocket. Um, we've both thrown a couple of ones to watch out there. So your first one, you've gone Josh Rock, who was also on my radar. But I've gone Gian
Yeah,
Van
Rock
Veen.
had a. Did he get to the semi-final? I think he got to semi. He lost to Littler, funny enough, but like he's got a good side of the draw. It was between him and Callan Ridds, who I was going to go for. Obviously, I've gone for Ridds for the long shot, but my main thinking with Rock and Smith was just their sides of the draw. And Rock's coming in with some pretty good form, and Michael Smith, as I said, he does love the Worlds. Um, and yeah, I was going to go, like I say, Smith, Callan Ridds for ones to watch because he does like the World Championships as well. But he plays Rock. If they both win, they'll play Josh Rock in round two. They'll play each
Right.
other, which is why I didn't go for him for the one to watch because I think Rock would win that.
Yeah. Well, I went with Van Veen and Noppert. Again, I've gone based on recency form. I think Van Veen is another talent that we'll see at the top for a long time once your big boys have stepped aside. I think once your MVGs, your Andersons, your Wades, all those have sort of retired. I think your Rock, your Van Veen, Littler, they're gonna be your number one guys that are sort of carrying darts for a while. I think they're going to be regulars in the Premier League. I think they're going to be the guys that you see competing for pretty much every tournament. Bit like your Price and your MVGs now, alongside obviously both Lukes. I talk like Luke Littler's about 50, but he's obviously the youngest there. But then yeah, Noppert I've gone for because he's had deep runs recently. He's scoring well. He looks like taking games. The only thing that worries me about Noppert is a little bit is the longer formats. He seems to tire a little bit. But obviously they do get a 2-3 day break over Christmas, which can help them reset and mentally reset. So I think Noppert's got a real chance. I was surprised when I looked at the odds and saw that it was 40-1, to be fair. I thought that Noppert would probably be more 14-15-1.
Yeah, do you know? I've got a bit of a theory on this. Darts players with actions who throw purely based on momentum as opposed to methodical. So like James Wade and Taylor are quite slow and methodical, aren't they? Whereas like Littler and Price and Humphreys, they just roll off, don't they? Noppert's quite methodical, isn't he? He's very well. He doesn't throw till he's set. He's very well timed in his action. I think in longer formats, it can hurt those kind of players. Taylor's obviously a bit of an outlier, but like when you've got momentum and you're just going off the momentum and going off your form, I think it suits the players with that kind of throwing action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. I mean, obviously the example for that would be the Littler versus Noppert game in the last event. Noppert had Littler dead to rights. I think he was 9-4 up, 9-5 up, and ended up losing something like 16-9. And like you say, it was all that pure momentum. Littler was throwing, picked up a couple of legs back to back, broke throw, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, these darts that have been hitting 180s, 140s, 170s, like regularly, they were now just hitting tons. And
The
that
problem is as well
momentum and
when you're against somebody and they're throwing that quick and that good, and then you're at the hockey, taking your time and you're throwing like a ton or whatever, and then they're back, and then all of a sudden you're back again. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
before
it's
you've
like
even got your darts out the board, you're throwing again, aren't you? So
there's no time, there's no respite. I think it suits those kind of players who throw quicker in the latter stages of the tournament. That is an absolute theory backed up by fuck all evidence, other than just mine and eyes. But yeah, Taylor was pretty much the only outlier, really. I mean, Barneveld threw quick, Humphries throws quite quick, so does Price. Bunting obviously throws quick.
no, I
So
do
yeah,
agree with you though. You seem to get a few more loose darts from those slower players, don't you, than you do the guys throwing in a rhythm.
yeah.
Um,
But vice versa on that, there'd be nothing worse when one of these quick players who are trying to scratch for form and they've got like a Nopper or a Taylor or Justin Pipe, was it him? He used to throw so slow. There'd be
yeah.
nothing worse, would it, than just waiting for them to throw because you'd just be itching to get back.
Well, it's like that Alex Toilo that's in the first round of the group. He's the guy that's giving it all this and 10 demon throws, and then he throws and he's looking at the score, and then he comes back and he's 3 practice
Oh,
throws, and then he
is he
throws.
the one from the Philippines?
Yeah,
Is it the
the one that
Philippines?
Bunting lost to and lost his head. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I think he's in Littler's side of the draw as well. But yeah, so then my long shot mate, I went Connor Scott. I've seen a little bit of Connor Scott recently. I seen him in person at Mansfield Cues and Darts a few weeks ago. And then I
Is
watched,
that purely
and
why
then,
you picked him then?
no, well, no and yes. I watched him. I'd never really paid attention to him till I'd spoke to him at Cues and Darts. And then when I did speak to him, he came across as a right steady bloke. So I was like, oh, I'll keep an eye on him. And then he played the last major championship. I can't remember what it was, and he put some decent games up and he scores well. The worst thing is he's got horrendous darts. He's got the darts that like dip in the middle, so you have to like clamp. So his fingers sort of
Oh,
sit like
right,
that
yeah.
and clamp down on it. So yeah, but no, I thought 300 to 1. He's got a half decent side of the draw, and he's one I'd like to see do pretty well. To be fair.
Fair enough. Can't fault that. Can't fault somebody having a little punt with the heart. We've got a few mates like that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Paul Naisby.
Paul Naismith, big one for him this weekend. Newcastle Sunderland.
Very
He's
big. Very
probably
big,
going to
yeah.
be crying.
I don't know, where's it at?
Sunderland.
A big
Do you
good
know the
game,
thing
that.
is as well? The thing is for those as
I
well though
think.
is that last game before their players go to AFCON as well.
Oh, okay. That's worked out well, hasn't it? Do you think
Yeah.
Sunderland take a draw there? Do you think Sunderland take a draw now? Think if he offered him, they take a draw because Newcastle
I
can be
think
anyone on the day, and they picked
I
up some
think if
form.
I think if you asked me that at the start of the season, they'd have snapped your hand off for a draw. I think the way that Newcastle's away form has been this season, and the way that they've
That's
played,
true,
that
yeah.
Sunderland have played this season, I think they'll be going into this game thinking, "Yeah, we've got this." And they just got turned over by City, so they're going to want to bounce back. It's going to be tasty, and I'm going to have bet
Yeah,
builders galore on it.
The City game was a pretty like a free. It was a free hit for them, really, wasn't it? They weren't expecting to get anything there, but all eyes would have been on this one. But Newcastle have picked up a couple of good wins, haven't they? Beating City, funnily enough. But yeah, a lot of their good results have come at home.
Form goes out the window in
I'm
a
looking
derby,
forward
though,
to it.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
What they always
and
say.
there's always moments in a derby, whether it's a penalty or a red card or just something that can boil over. So
Hopefully the referee's going
I'm
like
looking
this at
forward
the
to that.
weekend with the yellow cards. I'll be fucking ticking the bet builders off again.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Right, Alex, I think we'll wrap it up there, mate. It's been a privilege again. I've enjoyed it. It's becoming a bit more natural to us both now. I'd like to have a few more guests on, but it's becoming a bit tricky at the minute. But one thing I haven't told you,
Yeah, been
and
good.
one thing I haven't told you, and for people that watch this video, they're going to be pretty excited. I'm actually going to do a giveaway in a few days' time.
Okay.
So when we hit 100 subs on YouTube, I'm going to be giving away a set of these. for people to play with.
Nice.
So the target hydros, since it's the World Championship, we will let people pick obviously their barrel style and their weight. But yeah, when we get to 100 subs on YouTube, I'm going to be entering those subs into a draw, and I'll pick a winner from them. So I just wanted to share that with you before we ended. And yeah, thanks a lot, mate. And
Awesome stuff.
I will see you again next week.
Perfect. Yeah, we need to make promises as well when we get more people on and we do the podcast live. That's when it will get proper heated.
Yeah, it will do. We do have some plans in the future, obviously, probably more the new year, that we will do some watch-alongs. We will get into a few more heated debates, and we'll make it a little bit more fun. It won't just be news every week. It will be... we'll take some inspiration from other podcasts, a little bit like Pitchside, where they do some opinionated stuff. And we'll get into it a bit more. Like I say, it's been a learning curve early on for us, and I just wanted to get something out there so I could get to grips with it. But yeah, I'm excited.
I'm as well, and getting into hot topics and controversial opinions and 1 to 11s and combined teams. It's actually my drug. I feed off it. So
Is that like controversial opinions like I'd have scored 10 goals up top for Barca in Pep's Barca?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's ever that controversial. You've thrown a few out over the years, and we can go through the archives and get some of the lads' opinions about
I reckon that's going to be
George
your
said
task.
Nat Phillips deserved an England call up and all that jazz.
Well, I reckon that's your task for the new year, mate. In the new year, we'll run a podcast back and we'll call it Controversial Opinions from Our Friends group chat, and we'll throw them out there again and see what comes back from it. So you can get those up.
I tell you what, let me just have a quick look at something. Can you still see me, by the way?
No, you drop off, mate.
I'm just looking at the calendar, and oh no, see, that's on the 23rd. I was just thinking, I don't know how to get back up on the thing.
You're lost, mate. Are you there?
There we go. I was thinking of maybe like a Boxing Day or a Christmas Eve special or something where we go through some of our hot takes over the years. Do you know what I mean? Or New Year's special or whatever.
I think Leanne's like work on New Year, so we could do a New Year special if you wanted to.
Perfect. Hopefully a couple of lads are free over Christmas as well. They can be in on it.
Yeah, it'd be nice, mate. It would be nice. Right. That's the end of this podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn those sub buttons on to turn those notification buttons on. Make sure you all subscribe. I will put the information for the giveaway up on Facebook and Twitter in the next few days, so go and give those a follow and a like too. And yeah, thanks, Alex. I'll see you again next week.
Cheers, Devon. Thank you, mate.